Welcome to our episode of Book It. If you are new here, we are recording these series of videos in order to help people navigate their way into the industry as well as through the industry, even if they're brand new or they're established or anything and all things in between.
Right.
So today's episode is going to be about what you need to ask yourself before you enter the industry. Commercial acting, modeling, you have to ask yourself some questions before you enter. And so we're going to go over those. We are going to be talking about the modeling commercial 101. What do you need to know before you start? Why do you want to enter the industry? What can you expect in the reality of the career? Do you have the time? Your location, that matters. Where are you living? Where should you live? Or where could you live? And then a quick guide and steps into entering the industry. We're going to start off with the commercial side of this business. Questions that we need to ask ourselves before we enter this, Hollywood, social media, it embellishes this lifestyle, this career as being, going to parties and going to influencer events and red carpet events and, working on set and the glamour. But there's a reality to it that we kind of want to be able to talk about that you should consider before you decide to enter this industry. For our listeners who want to enter this industry, what's the first question that they should ask themselves before they get into it?
If they want to get into it, like you said, if they have the time. If you have a full-time job and you want this to be your full-time job, I mean, you'd have to really, are you willing to quit your other stable full-time job to go all in on this career because this is a career?
So you feel that this is a full-time endeavor?
It's absolutely. I mean, if you're really trying to make this a career, have it sustain you and pay your bills, and yes, absolutely. I mean, and you want to maximize in all of them. You're investing a lot of time and your energy, and it's so unstable. You can still have a job because since the pandemic, a lot of people are working at home now. So I know a lot of people who actually got a side job or still has their full-time job in a sense, if their boss is lenient, or it really depends on their job if it's lenient, and because everything's self-tapes now.
Even going back before pandemic is that people would have bartending jobs, they would drive Uber, they would have other jobs, but the point being is that this job is a full-time job. I mean, especially when you're first entering, there's so many things that you have to do that you should be, practicing and learning and preparing for, that if you're going to have a 20-hour-a-week job or another 40-hour-a-week job, prepare to spend upwards to another 40 hours a week doing this.
Yeah.
Especially if things start taking off and you're doing self-tapes and you're driving to auditions and you're going to callbacks and you're working on set. That's what you should be prepared for. And
that's another point. Are you willing to invest your money into this? Yeah. Especially in the beginning, you're going to be, from classes, workshops, improv, headshots, and if you're starting from nothing, wardrobe, and once you start building, you kind of already have your go-tos. You don't have to worry about headshots anymore, but definitely, especially in the beginning, you're definitely looking on investing yourself. I mean, you get it back tenfold in hopes that, you start booking and you work and stuff like that. But in the beginning, definitely a lot of investment.
So that's going to be the second question you ask yourself is, are you willing and to a certain degree able to invest in something that's going to get you there? It may not be the $1,000 headshots, but $200 headshots from a photographer.
I think another big thing to really ask yourself is if you're the kind of person who can handle rejection or at least adapt. Nobody likes rejection at all. Of course. But do you have the skin? Can you not take it personal? Can you learn to not let it? Because there's going to be times. Everybody, this career is like a roller coaster. When it has this thing, just like the stock market, when you peak, it's going to come down. And you have to ask yourself, does my personality fit that? Because some people really cannot. And I feel like more than that's part of the game. That's part of the career.
Especially in the beginning.
Yeah, because I feel like a lot of people can't handle it. And that's where, you know, they fold really quick and like, I'm quitting.
I mean, rejection, how that impacts you is a huge thing.
Sink
So
or float.
you're going to hear no more than you hear yes. That's going to be for anybody. So how you deal with rejection is going to be a huge thing for your mental health in this industry.
Yeah, exactly. And that's making sure your mental health is in check in regards to just your self-confidence, back to saying not taking things personal. Because in the end, it's really not about, you can't get all the jobs.
If you really want to do this, you're going to handle those no's, because when you get the yeses, it's going to feel so good. By far, the majority of people are hearing no, especially in the beginning of their career, for what feels like eternity. And then you start getting that momentum and you start learning the tricks of the trade. And then it starts to get a little easier and you get less no's, more yeses. And that's when it really pays off. So ask yourself if you're willing to take that journey. I would also have to say, are you willing to sit and do your homework? You know, you have to learn what kind of character in the commercial acting world do you want to portray. Watch those commercials.
Watch them. Watch all of them, especially the beginners. That's your schooling. That's school. You're evaluating what they're wearing. If you know what you're kind of like, oh, I want to do a mom, like look at the mom. Like you are studying the commercials. And I don't know if I mentioned this before, but what separates a booker and the rest of the 80% of actors who are auditioning, and not booking is that we are students of the ad world, advertising, looking through the eyes of a creative agency, the client, and how they do that. You know, looking in that perspective is what sets you apart. As for those who are starting, even though it's not when you start getting auditions in through LA Casting, through your agent, especially from your agent, I recommend to do them. I recommend to do the roles even if they don't fit for you, just for the exercise of auditioning, of self-taping. And if you're a clean slate, if you're a canvas who's never auditioned, who doesn't even know your brand type, because I didn't know what my brand type was. Like you don't know anything. You don't know anything. And so the best way to figure that out is by actually doing it. And the worst thing that will happen if you do the audition is like, okay, I don't like that. Then you could say, you can't really say anything. And I feel like as in life, you can't say you don't like it unless you've done it. You're building relationships with your agent, that you're showing up, you're not just canceling, and that you're reliable with casting directors, that they're seeing your face and they're seeing, and even if you're not good, the casting director will see that because they see your look. It's not just your performance. We're like, oh yeah, she didn't really fit that, but I think she'd be great for this next project that comes up. Yeah, don't sell yourself short, and just get all the experience as you can in the beginning.
But I think the big thing that I take from that is also there's an element of things that you may not be comfortable doing that you should do. And then there's an element of things that you shouldn't do that make you are hard no, uncomfortable for morality reasons or things like that.
Right. Absolutely. I 100% agree with you.
Another question you should ask yourself is also are you available and interested in traveling for jobs? You know, do you have family at home that you're taking care of that you can't leave for a week? Because you can get booked on a job and go to Aspen for a week. You can, do you have a passport? You may have to go to Barbados. You may have to go overseas and work there because that's where the job is. And you may have casted here in LA, but production can be anywhere in the world, really. Even before you have representation, who are thinking about entering the industry. Do you not live in Los Angeles, but you live somewhere else where there's a commercial market? Maybe Atlanta, maybe Seattle, maybe New York, maybe Miami, Florida. But if you live outside of those, you may want to consider relocating to a place where there is more of a commercial market scene.
Absolutely.
Market scene. There is an element in which people can live, say in Colorado and work out of LA, but I would argue that those are people who are established, who have already built the relationships, who kind of know that they can do their self-tapes, they can show up for jobs. But if you're pretending to be in Los Angeles while living elsewhere and you do a self-tape and then they call you for an in-person call back,
You better be coming over here. You better get your flight.
You better get there. And it's just for a callback, mind you. If you do that, you risk kind of hurting your relationship with that casting director and or agent and or anyone because, you misconceived them. Those are some pretty solid questions to ask yourself before you enter the industry. What about steps before finding an agent? We talked about having representation. So let's say all of those questions worked out for you. You answer all those questions, you feel confident about wanting to enter this industry, and you're going to want an agent right, to help pitch you, to protect you, to guide you. What are some things you need to do to get an agent?
I could say what I did. I took a workshop class. I took a commercial 101 workshop class. Killian's workshop is very popular. I took Mike Pointer's Hey, I Saw Your Commercial. Shout out to Mike Pointer. And I know the commercial class, which is Allison Horn and Ross Lacey. They joined forces and came out with their own commercial workshop. Anybody that's a casting director that has their side, commercial workshop class, they're great. Just because they're the casting directors and they're the one who sees the talent every single day, hundreds and hundreds of them, and is working with the client directly. So definitely any casting director that has their own commercial workshop. It's important just because you need to know the terms, like really simple terms, how to self-tape now or walk into audition, everything. Like it covers headshots, it covers agents, how to handle an agent when you're looking for them. I mean, it just covers everything. So I highly recommend.
So a workshop class, and then I would say an improv class.
100%.
The first one that comes to mind, because I lived right down the street from it, was UCB.
Yeah,
top. UCB.
Top go-to.
Yeah, so but there's other ones. There's
the Second City. There's Groundlings.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are like the top go-to. Yeah, I do know there's actually a few agencies that you need to have UCB.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Because there's a lot of casting directors. There's actually breakdowns. I have actually plenty of breakdowns. That's when they're asking for improv heavy, UCB preferred. It's like always UCB preferred. Second City is just as good. I mean, I went to Second City. Over 70% of auditions are improv. You don't nobody has to do anything. Like anything I've been saying, you're on your own. You're self-employed. So how you invest in yourself is how you do your thing. But if you want to make a lot of money, I highly recommend taking improv.
So we talked about this a little bit before, but typecast and branding, right? Before you kind of meet with an agency, you want to be able to typecast and brand yourself, so that maybe the agent that you're sitting down and meeting with doesn't have to do it for you. They know that you've already done your homework. You're branding yourself so that they look at you and they immediately say, yes, absolutely. I can fit you in for all these auditions that come on the top of my head. So let's go ahead and do it.
Right.
If you walk in with that information already in mind, you're 10 steps ahead of the person behind you.
Exactly. And nobody knows yourself more than you. You're kind of already telling them what I see myself doing,
As well as what your special skills are, right? You can ride a horse, so you're going to be that person. You're a stunt worker. You can do those type of work.
Yeah. Well, it'll definitely you'll stand out from the agent for sure if you're prepared.
What would you say is probably the most important thing that someone needs to have to start and work in this industry?
Headshots.
That was a very decisive answer right there.
Headshots. It's your foot in the door. It's your foot in the door. It is your moneymaker. It is you. It's your little resume and a small little icon against thousands of people per role. It's what your agency needs to see when you're trying to get your agencies. It's what's going to be put up on your LA casting. It's what the client's going to see. It's what the casting director is going to choose. Yes.
I think the idea is to get good headshots. I do know that there are some agencies that do have a preferred headshot photographer that they may request you to go take your headshots from. It would be really, really good to come in with headshots as well.
Right.
Research. No shortage of research required when you're talking about entrusting years of your career into an agency. You need to research your favorite, maybe the types of agencies that are doing the type of work that you want to be doing. Agencies that have good reviews, good agents. Ask around to people who are working, and take meetings. My recommendation, let's be real, when it comes to agencies, is go with the people that are most excited to work with you.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Because ultimately, you would rather have someone from a small agency pushing you hard than signing to a big name agency and not getting pushed at all.
Right.
I would rather have someone small, eager, working hard,
super excited, already has a vision for you and how they're going to pitch you to casting directors, as opposed to just pushing button, pressing submit. Yeah, like say you do take a meeting and it's the first one and they want to sign you. Naturally, you're stoked and you want to agree to it. Give it a week. Take meetings. Even if you don't have meetings, tell them you have meetings, because it makes you seem more valuable and it'll make them more, it's psychology, right?
You are the commodity. The agencies are the ones that are trying to get you to work with them. So they should be the ones trying to pitch you and ultimately saying, here's our resources. Here's what we're going to do for you. Here's what we have, our vision is. And then you get to decide. So if you tell them that they have that you're meeting with other agencies.
Because they're going to ask you that question.
They're going to ask you that question.
They're going to ask you. I remember they asked me that. But you know what? This is not in a malicious way.
It's not.
Because you're anticipating that you're going to have other meetings. They're going to respect that. They're not going to take it as you're taking other agencies. No. If they're a good agent, they want the best for you. They want you to sign with who you feel is best, because in the end, you're a team. Just like how we wouldn't want to be with someone who's not excited about us, they don't want to be with an actor they don't want to represent a talent who's not excited about being with them. Right. Because it turns into a family thing. So they're going to respect that. Any big agency, big agent, that's always the end goal. Compatibility and just wanting the best for you. I mean, because that's really it in the end.
But telling them that you have other meetings also lets them know that you've done your due diligence. You're not just, putting in one resume and saying, if it works, it works. If it doesn't work, I guess. Yeah. I always respected somebody who I felt was prepared and knew what they were planning on doing. And they said, I have these 5 agencies. I like these 5, but I'm weighing what they have to offer me. And that's when I would give them my pitch.
Right. I've had both. I've had a boutique and I've had had big ones. And, so, like you said, some of the boutiques, even though, there's a beauty of having only a 300 talent roster or 200 talent roster. I don't know what a boutique would be considered.
I'd say probably smaller than 500, that.
No more. Oh yeah. Cap at.
But ultimately, I feel like sometimes for some talent, it behooves them to have a boutique agency, get them started and off the ground, and then they might graduate to a bigger, more like juggernaut of an agency. But that's the path some people take. Some other people take right off the bat, they go big. There is no one way about it. The truth
boutique
is
sometimes is like, it doesn't mean boutique and bigger, one isn't better than the other, is what I'm trying to say. Well, it just serves different preferences on the person. Because there is a benefit of having a small client, for the agent to have small client, like 50 clients. Yeah. That's all you. You have a personal level, like you have, like, and you're just, that you are not a number. But even with big agencies, I feel like you want to say something. Yeah.
No, I think it's important to let people kind of understand, though, that like there's a trade-off. A small agency can give you a lot more attention and care for you care more about, your specific wants and needs. Whereas a big agency may say, you come here, you're going to fit into our mold and you're going to work. Now, those have their own trade-offs, but a small agency may not have the connections to maybe get you straight in and working with Coca-Cola on a SAG national commercial, like a big agency would. So it's not the same, right? But there's a trade-off. All right, so I got a few fire round questions here for you. Fire round questions. This is an opportunity for me to ask you questions that I want really short answers from you on. Very quick.
Oh, okay. I can't look. Oh, look. Fast. Okay, fast. Gotta go fast.
Fire round question number 1. Do hand models and parts models have agencies?
Yes.
Do hand models need portfolios?
Yes.
Do you need a blue backdrop for auditioning?
You can use a black, blue, any neutral.
Any
gray,
neutral?
blue. Those are the 2 go-tos.
Gray and blue?
You can use white. Some people don't. Some casting directors don't prefer white. But some do. But some are okay. Yeah, as long as there's no distraction there.
It's good. Fire round question. Do you prefer in-person castings or self-tapes?
That's tough.
Fire round.
Okay. Self-tapes. No, I can't. That's I miss it. I miss in-person so much. There's an element to in-person that I really miss. I can't.
As a novice in this industry, I've had maybe a dozen self-tapes, and I've had one in-person, and I gotta tell you, I love the in-person.
You make your friends, you see people. That's where all my friends on social media, you see them in person.
There's the adrenaline. You pop right in there. You're in, you're out. You have one take. They like you or they don't.
And you're over it. Once you walk out that door, you can't retake it. You're done, and it's out the window. I guess so. In person. There you go. Sorry.
In person. There it is.
Person.
It sounds that way.
I know. I'm so passionate about in person. I miss it. Not the parking.
Last fire round question.
Okay.
Do you have to be in the union to book commercial jobs?
No.
That's fire round question. That's about 4 questions, but you answered with 1 word. So that's great.
Oh, yeah. See, that's a win.
Alrighty. So that concludes this episode to Book It, our guide to helping you book jobs, book more jobs. And we're going to come back with another episode next week. And we hope that you enjoy this one. And if you have any suggestions, comments, feedback, if you just want to carry on a discussion, bring it down in the comments. We're going to talk about it. We can talk about anything. And, the more questions you have for us, we'll be able to incorporate into the next episodes, maybe as a fire round question and maybe as a full episode that we maybe want to have a discussion on. So please do that for us. And we're going to keep making these episodes for you.